You guys help us with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody will stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She's up. Here. I'll turn it over to me.
All right. So thank you for being here. We're super excited. We never get to have this many people in our board meetings, especially this many students. But we felt this was a special occasion, and we wanted to bring, this is our 4th grade Super Bowl champions of Oak Grove Little League football. So we are super excited to have them all here and to celebrate their season, which I hear was super exciting. So I'm going to turn it over to Coach, and he's going to share a little bit about the team.
We finished the year 7-1. Through the regular season, we were 5-1, and lost to Pleasant Hill 12-6. Then we played Odessa our last week of our regular season, won 7-6. Played them again in the first round of the playoffs, beat them 20-0. That's always nice. We then played Pleasant Hill in the Super Bowl, who we earlier lost to. We ended up 0-0 to overtime, and then they got the ball first. They scored 6-0. We then got the ball. We scored, and Luke Euler iced it for us. Kicked a game-winning field goal. 8-6 was the final.
That is so awesome. So we are proud of you guys, and you're going to learn as you grow up that anything you do as Oak Grove students, we want to celebrate with you. So we're so thankful to be able to celebrate. We also have Coach Schartz, who is our high school football coach, is here tonight, and he just wants to give you a little bit of congratulations. Too.
Yes. Class of 2034. The future is bright in Oak Grove. I'm so proud of you guys, and I'm proud of you coaches for not only coaching them, but showing them the right way to play. One of the most dominant Little League defenses, and I'm going to have to give a shout out to John Euler. So he knows how to coach some defense up. But I did get to see the video of the game-winning touchdown, and what was unique about it was it was done with the running back that only had one shoe on. And that was also Luke Euler. So he ran the touchdown with one shoe on and then kicked the game winner. So great job, guys. Congratulations.
All the way around. There you go. There you go.
Good job, dude.
Thank you for coming. Good job. Congratulations.
Nice job. Thanks. Good job, Coach. A couple more years, Willie. You got to beat that next year now, Coach.
And thanks, parents, for bringing them. We appreciate it. Yep. Appreciate it.
While they're filing out, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Jason. Jerry. Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor? Okay. Now we can vote.
They can come in. Is that fair? Yep. I know. You guys are up. Who are ready? Bring them on up. Yeah. Who wants to play?
I will take save the clicker.
Designate someone.
But they have little spots that I'll try to click through it so I can speed them up some. Come in over here, guys. Yes, they like to see all of us. Do you want to do some stuff?
So for our second recognition, we were excited to bring our inaugural chapter of FFA in tonight. They have run through their elections of officers, and so tonight we're going to hear about the officers, and we're going to hear about FFA and the ag and education that Ms. Donovan has created. So I got something funky now.
Yep, it was me.
So I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Hi, thank you guys for letting us come in. We won't talk too long, but I just wanted to have something that kind of showcase what we've been doing and why FFA and ag education is really important for us. And we have all of these guys, they're part of our officer team, and maybe I can introduce them, or maybe they can stand up and introduce themselves one by one and tell them what officer position that they have in our FFA. So we'll start with Marion.
I'm Marin Smith. I'm the president.
Just go down.
I'm Kaylee Reynolds. I'm the secretary.
I'm Alexis, I'm the sentinel.
I'm Adeline, and I'm the treasurer.
I'm Marissa, and I'm the historian.
I'm Amber Marie, and I'm the vice president.
I'm Kaden, and I'm the parliamentarian.
I'm Katie, and I'm the chaplain.
I'm Jamie Donovan, the advisor, and we're doing it. I did just anyway, part of ag education, half of their motto is learning to do and doing to learn. And so we're learning how to do it, and then we go and do things and try to do community service, fundraisers, what else? There's all kinds of things, and there's so many different things that we can do once we learn how to do that in the classroom. I put up here, and I wanted to also hand out this to you guys. You can peruse it maybe one day, and there's several of them. Well, there's just a few. But that came out through DESE of Ag Education. This is their kind of little roundup thing that they've done for the year. But some of it is up there as well, of how many members in the state of Missouri, or in there. And then we have there's 537, or there's 365 FFA chapters. And of the school districts in the state of Missouri, 66% of them have ag education and FFA in them. So we get to be a part of that number next year. So that's pretty exciting. Ag education starts with 3 circles. So the 3 circles is the classroom instruction. That's what happens during the school day. And then we have the SAEs, which are supervised ag experiences, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. And then FFA is the third component of those. And so part of the classroom instruction is we're doing poinsettias and learning about ag and crop production, livestock. I mean, it's Ag 1, so we're just getting a little bit of every little thing. And eventually, as they progress through ag, they'll get a little bit more specific on the pathways that they want. And we got a lot of people in animal systems and plant systems, and so it's just really kind of seeing where they want to go, and that'll drive what we end up doing later on. So I have Marin. She's going to talk a little bit about supervised ag experiences, or SAEs.
SAEs, they're hands-on, real-world experiences. They allow us to take agricultural concepts and learn from them, and they just offer a lot of opportunities for us in all of our learning in agriculture.
I should also note that some of it can take place in the school day, but a lot of their hours are logged outside of the school time. So they put in a lot of time just even thinking of a supervised ag experience to begin with, of what they would want to learn more about and do, and put time into it.
There are different SAE projects you can do. You can do an exploratory one, research, entrepreneurship, or placement. We log our hours, as Ms. Donovan said. The minimum is 20 for a semester and 40 for a year, 40 hours. And with our SAE hours, we can earn degrees, and there are different rankings with that. And some SAEs that our students are doing, there's floral ranging, plant care, taking livestock photos, making and canning salsa, that's cool. Woodworking projects, I'm doing a crochet business, dog walking business, showing livestock. I know Kaylee's gonna show a rabbit, right? And small engine repair and a landscape business. So,
FFA used to stand for Future Farmers of America. It got changed in 1988 to National FFA Organization. It changed because not everything on FFA is about farmers. You can learn leadership, career skills, and a sense of responsibilities while learning hands-on experiences. FFA is where we grow as leaders, and we just serve to our community and complete events, attend conferences, and develop leadership roles.
Those are just some of those opportunities that are now presented for them because they're a part of AG and FFA.
Some of the goals we have for this upcoming year and years to come is, well, we all right now are in Ag 1 and we want to continue in that and get more freshmen and sophomores next year to be able to join. Next year we'll start our Ag 2, and then from there we get to choose what we want to do next. Like if a lot of us are interested in like animal systems, we'll make an animal system class, or like plants and stuff. We also this year are trying to recruit members in for next year, so we're planning to go over to the middle school and do stuff with the 8th graders to try to get them to enroll with us next year. And then we also continuing to make memories and traditions for years to come. One tradition we started is having our FFA float in for homecoming. We also have done a funnel cake fundraiser at one of our home football games where we raised enough money to buy jackets for our class. We're right now currently growing poinsettias, which this Saturday we will have a sale, and we would love for you guys to come.
Where is it?
Well, FCCLA will also be a part of this as well.
It's going to be at the high school from 4 to 7 on the east side. I don't know if you guys know where the raised beds are or the Panther bed. It's going to be over there, and we're trying to attract other people in, just not for poinsettias, but we got pictures with Santa, we got hot chocolate and cookie decorating and stuff like that.
December 2nd, we'll have our chartering ceremony, which we sign like a piece of paper since it's our first year. All of our officers will get recognized, and we'll do our green hand degrees, which I think all of us this year in Ag 1 will get one. We'll have some of the Missouri State president for FFA will be there talking, and I know a few members here will be as well. We have invitations for everyone. We would like to invite you guys to come.
Thank you.
I want to thank, first of all, Mrs. Donovan for breaking out and being willing to start an FFA's chapter at Oak Grove. Oak Grove is so special, the FFA is so special to me. So it's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm so excited that we can offer this to Oak Grove. Each of you ladies should be very proud of yourselves. You are putting a mark on Oak Grove High School for years to come. When FFA chapters 25, 30 years from now look back, they're going to see your names and you guys being willing to step up as leaders to start this chapter for Oak Grove High School. So thank you to all of you as well.
What are your FFA numbers right now for just this year, like year one? Like,
We have 29.
Wow, that's good. That's awesome. It's a great start.
But we do have 13 seniors.
Yeah.
So they was like, please, and they did. But that's why we really need to get into the middle school and do some recruitment. And so we've reached out to the principal there, and we have a whole committee signed up to kind of address that and see what we can get to get them to come over and be part of ours.
That's great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Take a motion and a second for the consent agenda. Motion. Jim, is there a second? I'll second. Jason, thank you. I'll second. We have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. All in favor? That is Jim and then Jason. Next up is APRs. Okay.
Sorry, Dr. McLean, nobody wanted to stay to hear
Well, we didn't hype you very well. Maybe if they knew what you were here for.
I'm gonna follow that. That's Jack.
Let's try visions at the end and the consent.
There you go.
Okay.
Info.
All right,
And a
so
bunch of fourth graders.
APR has been released, and now it's been released in public. The first document you will see on the screen represents the last several years. This year did mark a quality increase for our district. So we got to remember what APR is. It's really a grade card that measures certain domains. This does not measure 100% of the amazing things that go on in our school district with our students, with our staff, but it does measure some of the parameters that the state would like to see us continue to work on. Some of these we really have direct control, and some things we have indirect control on. There's two categories of points: performance and continuous improvement. It's much easier for us to see continuous improvement parts. That's tied to like our strategic plan as a district, or our CSIP that works even with the board. That can be tied to operations as it relates to our SIS software called TeacherEase, where we upload attendance, where we upload state reporting, all the little X's and O's that we always can control. But performance is something that it comes back to instruction, and then there's some other elements to this that we'll try to outline with growth that are really hard to kind of see. Our best guess, we have some best guesses as to some of the growth from 72% to 79%, where comparison districts that I've talked to, they were very jealous of our growth, where they went down. We're so close to jumping into that 80, you could still call it 80%. I'm very encouraged by what we might see a year from now, because some of the things we've already been doing, which I'll get to, I think already address some of the shortcomings in our APR. So the next document, if you don't mind, Superintendent Hampton, would be the breakdown. So this is where it kind of gets into the weeds as to how we scored this. Performance relates to ELA, math, science, and social studies, and then again to growth in those areas. The growth concept is hard to find sometimes because it has to do with an advanced algorithm that says when Dave McLean's son takes a test in 8th grade, it predicts what they think he should take at government, what they think he should grow. And if he does or doesn't, even if he really grew but had a bad day, it may affect our score. Either way, it really comes down to what we can control is just how we supervise instruction, how we align our instruction. Are we teaching to the Missouri Learning Standards or not? That's where you see that outcome in changes. So we have some petitions, we have some possibilities on this board for improvement. We're on track with ELA. We continue to score very well at ELA, especially at the elementary school levels. Subgroups relates to minority subgroups and other characteristics like that. We want to make sure that we're tracking those as outlined by the state. And then at the very bottom, you're going to see other pieces, that graduation rate, how are we graduating our students, the follow-up rate, are we tracking and seeing where our students are going, do we have information on them? This is where we have some great staff at the high school that just hustles and finds those individuals and we get information back. It constitutes a little bit of the percentages. Other credits with Success Ready students has to do with credentials that we give students and how we assess them to get them ready for college at the high school level. But a lot of our work to even move a percentage up to jump into that 80 is going to come from tedious best practices of Tier 1 instruction. That's how you're going to see more jumps, especially with what I see here is mathematics, where we're only getting 3 out of 12. And some of the things we've identified, before this came out just recently, we'd already started in motion some amazing things that they've been challenges to try to revamp what we're doing with math. We've had a whole nother adoption of mathematic resources this board approved to purchase last year, K through 12. Looking back at those Missouri Learning Standards and making sure they're being taught to the correct rigor of where they should be. There's been growing pains for this because our teachers do amazing things, but maybe the kids aren't quite ready for such a drastic jump. So it's been a process of going through that, but I already know from the next device that I'll tell you with iReady, we're already moving the needle significantly. So it's kind of neat to see, here's your grade card. Oh, but 6 months ago, we've already enacted a lot of things to address this, especially when it comes to our attention to some emerging status with the mathematics. And we'll work in that direction. So any questions about our APR and how it's useful? Or
like, what does that tell us of the CCR assessments if we're only scoring 50% there? What is that? Is that based on the like SAT scores that the students are receiving?
Not necessarily. In some cases, it can be, but it's really kind of tied to the credentials that we need to make sure we're capturing out of high school kids, not just the ones that go to Fort Osage or go to Summit Tech. Are we doing other types of assessments to get their college and career readiness assessed, and then are we putting that into the system? So if we have deficiencies here, we can target that by looking at what we call our core data. It's like mass data through our student information software system. And basically, most of this starts at the middle school and then it kind of passes off to the high school staff. And we've constantly, since I've been here, kind of been reviewing that practice to just update our practices. And then you also, on top of that, have changeover of staff who submit those, and then we get it correctly in. So we have a period of time where if we don't like what they send back to us, we can make adjustments. But it's sifting through some data to make sure that every kid is being represented with what they've been assessed on. With some of those tests.
And some of the struggles there too, and when we dig down and look deeper, but some of it is, like, not every college requires SAT and ACT, so trying to get some of our high achieving academic students to take the ACT so that that score can be reflected to go into this score. So we don't require every student to take it. We may have a 4.0 student who's going into workforce or going into maybe they're going into a technical training, so they're not taking the ACT. So trying to encourage those kids to take the ACT so that their scores are reflected. So some of it is identifying the kids that we need to be taking some of those assessments.
A large chunk of our kids do not take an SAT, but WorkKeys, AccuPlacer, ASVAB, these have gone through trends in our system where we've maybe given it to everybody, then we didn't. It's been done at Summit Tech or where else. So getting that back in, identifying these, and then making a plan with the building to make sure, hey, how are we addressing this? Because there's commitments to that when it comes to scheduling and over-testing kids, but yes, we can grab some points there while also trying to address our assessments. So, any other questions about our APR?
So did we used to offer the ACT here, and then now we don't anymore?
We have some incentives.
We've continued to try to host it here, have some home field advantage for our kids, but ACT stopped allowing us to host. They started compiling everybody to Blue Springs, larger districts where more kids were coming to.
Well, like Odessa, I mean.
Right, yeah.
They're just not allowing anyone and everyone to host it. They're particular in how they pick.
So instead of us in the middle, they either have to go to Blue Springs or Odessa instead of all three locations.
There's also some significant changes coming to the ACT, like the science component is being taken out. You have to request to take that in addition.
Well, and even now, has it been 3 or 4 years, they have a super score.
Yes.
So when you take the ACT, you used to, when we took it, you would take it, and every time you took it, you just got your composite score. Now, when you take it, it's at the end, it's your super score, your highest of each of the subject areas of any test that you took it. So you could have taken it 6 times, it's gonna take all your highest scores.
That's cool. Some of these data points are from last spring in the whole grade card, but in the future, like kids that take the ACT this year, it won't reflect on our APR till like 2027. So some data points are kind of backlogged, so it's really hard to kind of project what you're gonna get in that regard. Also with the ACT changing, if you have a student who's strong in science, and if that's not taken, that puts heavier weight on the ELA component. And students that are stronger in the ELA components, get rid of the science, it might boost that score. So they keep changing the tool a little bit, but ultimately, we have things that we can control, and we have things that we can focus on and make a priority.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think our message is we improved our overall APR 7.7% over last year, which is that's a big jump, and so we're proud of that. The efforts that are going into that from all staff. Yes. In the state of Missouri, 90% of the schools are above 70% or more And so, we're heading the right way in what we're doing. We know as a district, we're targeting and looking at math is our lowest area, but as Dr. McLean already said, we knew that was gonna end that way, and that's why we've made some big changes in our teaching practices, the alignment of the math courses that we're taking, and then the adoption of the new math series. And all of that has been difficult on our teachers this year, and it's hard, it's change, and it's murderous, and we know it's hard, but we also know that we have data that shows we knew that this was coming, and that's why we had to make some of those changes.
I also want to add the attention that our building leaders have taken towards attendance, which is it's a big part of this, and it's hurting all the districts across the state because the state of Missouri pays a premium amount of attention on attendance. And I think it's changed after COVID. You know, it's really hard, but if kids have the sniffles, people stay home. That is impacting the score a little bit, but we have systems in place to try to make kids want to come to school. We have great reminders. The admin make a focus on this when we incentivize certain attendances for extracurriculars and of that nature. We need kids at school. We need staff at school. So we're all, Superintendent Hampton had a big focus on that across the district last year, trying to control as much of it as we can to get kids here. So, very good numbers for our district. This next part talks a little bit about the improvement plan. That's that strategic plan, or CSIP. Climate and culture survey. They ask us to survey our citizens. Our stakeholders, our parents, our teachers. That's already been taking place right now. We're awaiting the results from this year. Success ready students, kindergarten entrance exam. We have to test that. There's our attendance piece where we're missing a point, and it takes a significant amount of work to get this a 4 out of 4. Doesn't mean we start working for it, even if it's really hard, but we're going to go that way. Timely submission of MOSIS and core data. We have a dedicated individual to that polices that, so that gets us points in that regard. So overall, we should be pretty happy about this APR, and it's taken a lot of amount of work. This is something I've seen. This is when we take the MAP assessment or EOC assessment, the required state assessment, attendance, Mr. Newman, all the other buildings, we have to get kids here to take these assessments. Even kids that are maybe taking virtual classes, you have to get them in to take it. You have to call them and remind them, because if you drop below a certain percentage, you get a 0 on this grade card. And I've seen a district I worked in previously where that was not, they didn't pay much attention. Oh, we couldn't get them to come in and take the test, sorry. 0 on the grade card. So I really appreciate the attention and the seriousness our building leaders took to make sure kids got that taken, and our building testing coordinators did. So we should be, I think we're very encouraged by this and excited to see what next year will be already. So here's some reasons possibly why, when it comes to the hard to understand parts with teaching, with learning, with growth. And if you would turn your attention to our iReady report, this will be the second year. iReady, you may be, oh sorry, go ahead.
I just want to ask one question before we jump to iReady. So what does that, like, obviously the data is good and it's telling us how we're performing as a district. Is there anything that comes out of this, like funding, or is it
No, the
accreditation?
only thing would be negative. So above 70% gets you that accreditation piece. But if you, especially on like the fund balances, and if you get below a certain percent, DESE can come in and you'd be a school of improvement. And when you're in a school of improvement, then DESE's helping you work with your board to monitor to show growth as your district. But there's no financial, it's just our report card on what we're doing and how we're doing. It's important through the state, but it's also for us to manage. Yep. There's been so many more components added to it, like that last page. And MSIP cycles, so MSIP is the different cycles of DESE's requirements. We're in MSIP 6, we're getting ready for MSIP 7. When MSIP 6 came about, that's when attendance was put into play. That's when the growth model came. You used to just be scored on how many kids were proficient or advanced, but now we're looking at the growth. Did you grow? Are your kids learning? It might not just be who's proficient in advanced, but are they showing growth? And then even the big piece was the CSIP piece, the continuous improvement, all these scores related to that. What are we doing to make our districts move forward? Big emphasis on the CTE expansion, which is career technology education. So it's the post-secondary schooling. What courses are you offering? What certificates can they leave with for workforce readiness? And then even this piece down here, Does your LEA meet the required threshold for fund balances? Yes. Is your superintendent appropriate certified? Yes. Do all board members participate in required orientation and training? Yes. Is the LEA compliant with state and federal laws? As well as one shows, do you have your audit? Do you submit your ASBR, annual school report in a timely fashion, in our audit? So they've added a lot more components into it, just of all the, so this is just basically, this is the report card of the requirements we have every year to the state. How are they scoring us on what we're doing as a school? If we get too low, they're gonna step in and help us be better. Obviously, the higher we can get, better. I have a goal of 80. 80 is great in this new, and we're at 79.7, so that's fantastic. That's just kind of our goal of 80 would be great. Next year, DESE is changing a little bit, so we've all heard in our MAP assessment, you'll see that you have below basic, basic, proficient, and advanced. And so the big push is what percent of your kids are proficient in advanced? Well, when they score, they take the overall scores, and the top of whatever percent gets to just be, instead of a number threshold to be advanced, it's the top whatever percent's advanced, and then the next is proficient, then basic or below basic. We have a lot of kids who score basic because it's compared to the state average, but they're on grade level, or maybe even above grade level. And so DESE's adding a 5th category, which is grade level. So now you'll have below basic, basic, grade level, proficient, and advanced. And so now then it just helps us measure better, so that because people understand that better, right? When we can say 70% of our kids are on grade level or above, grade level, proficient, or advanced. That is easier for people to understand because we understand what grade level is. So I will be excited when they add that 5th. It won't be on next year's APR report. It'll be on the following year. And we'll still get just our regular standards, but then also we'll see that 5th category for on grade level. But yeah, this is just the state saying all the expectations we have, how are we doing? Yeah.
Sure. So the iReady tool was used last year for the first time. And it's a diagnostic tool for reading and for math. It's given 3 times a year. You probably have heard iReady because we also purchased the math curriculum for it. It's being used now, kindergarten through 5th grade. It also has an online component called the Learning Path, where it's set to each kid and their deficiencies based upon their diagnostic. The diagnostic we give 3 times a year would be like going to the doctor 3 times a year and taking a blood test to try to measure your fitness. It tells you where you're deficient, where you're strong, and then you can check in. Now that we have a year of data and then we can compare this fall's assessment that we gave, it's kind of neat to see what kind of growth we have. I would say the Learning Path piece that we did last year and we focused on, I think has to contribute to our growth in the APR. Because, for example, students that were 2 or more grade levels below, students with IEPs, educational learning deficiencies, those kids showed some of the most remarkable growth because it targeted them right at their holes. And that maybe translated into a prediction of what we thought we would get on the map that turned out to be pretty accurate. We had a report from iReady that said, here's what we think your MAP scores will be. When the MAP scores came out, it was pretty darn close. After a year ago, when we tested our kids in the fall in math, 70% of them at the beginning of the year were 1 grade level below or better, which is the sweet spot. Because if you think about it, if your son starts 4th grade in the beginning of the year, should he have mastered 4th grade material, or is he still entitled to learn throughout the year? We want to see this number grow, this yellow to green. Green means the kids were above grade level or middle of the year. Green means they're early on grade level, and the yellow meant they're 1 grade level behind. These are kids that we have concerns about. They're already 2 or more grade levels behind in the beginning of the year. After just 1 year of implementing this and using our old math curriculum, this year, it takes a significant amount of effort to improve by 1%, but we improved by 1%. The best analogy, it's so many moving parts, it's so many variables. You know, it's like Pat Mahomes is a very good quarterback. He has to work really hard to get 1% better. That takes a significant amount of input. This takes a lot of work to get 1% better. So this is a big celebration in my opinion. In 1 year. Now, we've adopted a brand new math curriculum. That new math curriculum asked us to teach math from like 60 minutes a day to even more at the elementary school level, which is hard. It's hard on our teachers. It is. And they're giving an outstanding effort. They need to be commended. It's going to help close the gap and move the needle even more. Other districts that have adopted the same curriculum in the city, are thriving and celebrating their early scores, and the ones that didn't are kicking themselves because they didn't adopt it. I'm not telling you, I'm not lying. I heard that from a Liberty administrator. So I'm really encouraged by it. It requires, it's just more data to help drive our instruction versus the feeling. It's hard as a teacher to always know if you're having an impact and moving the needle with the kid. You have a feeling if they are, but now it kind of gives us some science behind it. So these scores should be celebrated. Another component of this is it breaks down the domains, and we see deficiency as a district in geometry. Now that's the whole district. This is in truth first grade through 9th grade. That's who we assessed this year. Last year we assessed first grade through 8th grade. So we moved up a grade level. In the past, the middle school, we didn't have a ton of, we had geometry being taught in math, but we had pre-algebra and algebra. Or 8th graders were taking pre-algebra, which skips a lot of the geometry 8th grade Missouri learning standards. Now we've made an adjustment in 1 year to kind of, we have to wrap that back in because the state of Missouri says we're going to be tested on it. So that aligns with what we're actually teaching. So teachers have made significant strides to start fresh, start new, and it's not just because we wanted to, it's because we needed to help our kids. So it's been a big ask of them, and they've been amazing. If you want any questions over this page, this is the math compared to last year at this time. Here's the breakdowns of the grade levels, and we can go as a teaching and learning group, as a principal group, our instructional coaches, we can go really deep. We can go deep into individual students. We can go deep into individual students' domains. We can find where their holes are. It gives us a lot of information. We track where maybe there's an inefficiency in the teaching of the pacing because teachers leave, or maybe we tried a new program and we try to get those all tightened up because then why are they jumping? We don't want kids to fall through the cracks. Where do we put our resources? So this district has invested significant money in buying a new math resource, but when we have to make full-time employee decisions on where to move for classrooms, this data is helpful to show us if we find places to beef this up and improve this, that's what we want to do. But at the same time, we don't want to lose the amazing things we're doing in literacy. So how do we make those calculated decisions? The data is going to help us. So any questions over the math? Yes, sir.
What do you think's going on? Like, you look at the 9th grade scores, it seems like you're getting a lot more, what would be outlying either one way or the other based on that trend.
Once you're behind, you're always behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was looking at, you go from grade 5 to grade 9 on the 2 and 3 below, and that number is fairly consistent from 5th grade. 15, 15, 14, 13, 15.
You're asking the right questions.
Yeah.
And that's where we can have a lot of theories and ideas, but when you find disjointed, fidelity is important. If this is the plan to teach 6th grade math, if this is the plan to teach 5th grade math, and if it's not supervised for fidelity, and that's not always easy, otherwise kids maybe in one classroom are getting all the standards and then kids in the other classroom aren't, it creates more cracks for kids to fall in. So it takes supervision of that instruction, especially in, it takes people that are really passionate about teaching math and mixing that in with I'm passionate about kids and where do I apply grace and where do I apply you're free to fail but we can't reduce this standard. So it just takes getting back to tier 1 instruction. What should that look like? What is every kid entitled to see? And then when they fail, how do we wrap back in supports for reteach? That's where your CSIP coming in had MTSS written on it. That goes through this. So in the past, when I first started teaching, my first year teaching in public school was in Higginsville. I had a great mentor teacher, but this teacher, as a math teacher, said, you just go as fast as the kids can handle it. And you know what ended up happening? You got halfway through the book. And the entire back half, they never saw those things. And they were entitled to that. So learned a different way, and that is you follow that pace. If kids struggle, we have to wrap in supports. This tool of iReady does that for them naturally. Things like Mr. Newman's RTI plan at the high school where we bring kids in for reteaching. It's also getting to another level of where do we identify the most essential standards for 6th grade? Because there are a boatload of standards. Our elementary school teachers are working very hard to do it all perfectly. Over time, we can study what are the main ones that we gotta make sure every kid is entitled to learn, because that's gonna move the needle, and then hopefully the fringe ones can be addressed as well. So it takes strategy. You just can't spray and pray, hope they got it. That's where data helps us to really target where the interventions are needed. It's both tier 1 focus with intervention focus when they fail. So it's complex, but the kids are worth it.
How have we done it? And I remember from your first presentation on iReady, I think, at least my memory serves me, I think we talked the intervention piece. Not to say it's easier, I don't mean to make it sound easier, but at the elementary or maybe even primary and maybe even elementary level, you've got them in a class. Somebody's falling behind, you see the data, it's real easy, maybe not easy, but how do we address that piece in middle school and high school when they're only in that class for 40 minutes?
Good question. Using times like RTI's response to intervention. Mr. Newman has took a great risk this year trying something new with his RTI plan. We used a resource called RTI Scheduler, and you may be able to speak to it a little bit. But kids then that aren't meeting certain thresholds on the key standards, the key important pieces, can be requested back to that teacher in theory. And not just that teacher, it could be any teacher, reteaching an identified essential standard.
So the high school added the 8th hour this year.
Yes.
So all the kids are like, what's this 8th hour? And it was so they could get, how long is your RTI time?
33 minutes.
So that 33 minutes, and then you want to talk about the schedule and what a kid goes through and how they determine where they're going to go?
Prior, we had Panther Pride time at the end of the school day, and it was really focused on students going to teachers and advocating for themselves that they need help, or teachers talking to those kids, hey, you need to come to my Panther Pride time. Well, at the same time, they also had a roster of 15 to 18 students on top of that. So at any given time, we were finding 25, 30 kids in a classroom, and the kids that really needed help in that classroom weren't getting it. There was too many kids in there, there's too much commotion, too much going on. So now we have focused days for each core subject. Math and ELA have 2 days per week. Science and social studies have 1 day per week, and then all of our electives have Fridays. So any given day, the intervention courses are smaller, 5 to 10 kiddos in each of those courses that really need the focused, more one-on-one help. We have a large group that of students who don't need intervention. They just need some time to get some work done. And they're able to do that during the school day. So then you're looking at kids who are constantly out every night at activities, sports, those type of things. So it's proved very helpful for teachers to have more time to work with those kids, and they schedule them to come in, especially the kids that need intervention. They don't get a choice. The teachers are scheduling them, assigning them to come to them. I get on there every day and I find the kiddos who have not selected a course, and I find the ones that need to go somewhere specific. But we're able to talk with kids for attendance, counseling. We're able to do any number of things, and our teachers are super creative with it, offering some great enrichment courses that are very fun and kids are enjoying through that time as well. So I've heard nothing but positives from our staff.
This process, that is one component of MTSS. The middle school's tried something a little bit different that also could work, maybe at the high school, and that's a little bit of an elective course offering for kids that are already below grade level. So they've implemented an academic strategies class, identified kids that were maybe below grade level with ELA and reading. So a student can be taking the regular 7th grade ELA class, and then instead of another elective, they're taking the academic strategies class, where they're working on the essential skills that might be below grade level, but the kid needs fine-tuning on. If we don't have these types of strategies, the temptation is for the grade level tier 1 teacher to just lower the standard to where they're at. And all that does is exacerbate the problem long term. If you always teach kids below grade level, where do they end up? Below grade level. It needs to be an additional support. And so that's what his system does. That's what middle school's trying. We have to keep training our admin. We have to keep training our teachers as to what this looks like, especially at the secondary level. Elementary teachers already kind of do it. The workshop model that's existed for years where they have small groups is there. Also, elementary has Title's an intervention reading program for kids that are below grade level. There's not Title at the middle school or high school. So if it's important to us, we invest in it. We invest in our kids and we get them there. And Mr. Newman and Mrs. McConville and Mr. Salmon have all invested that time to do that. We're not where we want to be, but we are a heck of a lot better than where we were. So I kudos to him for taking that on. I've even jumped in a few math classrooms and like, oh, I don't know what that one is. But we'll look it up together, but we'll try. It's kind of fun.
I think we really need to focus too on middle school age math, because that's where that building block really starts to build fast. And if you get behind, it makes it really tough. And that's kind of what you see as that red's moving up.
Well, and they
So
saw,
the-
middle school saw the biggest shift and change in the way we're doing courses
Yeah.
and the pacing guide, so that's been the hardest this year, especially with the teachers, so the pacing guide, and then the teachers saying, hold on, kids are behind.
Yeah.
Kids aren't understanding this concept, when do we, so that's tier 1 intervention, right? When do we implement tier 2 intervention in order to make sure that I can continue going with my pacing guide, but kids aren't following behind too?
And we need to get on that pretty quick, because I've sat down with my daughter with some of that. And once they start getting behind, it's hard to catch back up, because then they're moving on to something new and they don't understand what's already in front of them, and it makes it tough.
It does make it tough.
But, yeah.
I'm just so thankful for the resources we have.
Yeah.
When I took Algebra 2 in high school, if I didn't know what to do, I had to find that teacher.
Yeah.
Now we have online videos, tutorials, you can Google it.
Yeah.
So a parent that is willing to work with the kid, you can find some things. You might watch the video 15 times for it to make sense, but we didn't have that in the past.
Yeah.
So there are some great things to use, but it is still work. At the same time, there's a natural transition for kids. Kids at elementary school are assessed a certain way. And then boom, you move to middle school, and all of a sudden you got grades. You're going from class to class. Homework means a little more. And so there's still even a process of teaching kids just how to be students. They have to be taught how to study. That's not a class, and that's not a grade, but it does impact a little bit of that learning curve. And if we lower the standard to make them feel better, that's artificial harmony, and we're actually hurting them in the long term. So this is, if you see those math teachers in the district, elementary math teachers, they deserve a hug. They really do. And we can do hard things is what we like to say. And that's what we want to say to the kids too, to believe that you can reach this standard, but we're going to have to continue to love them and support them best we can. We've given them a few days, and there's tears once in a while, but they've also come back to the table and said, you know, it actually worked. It actually worked. We didn't think it could, and it did. So there's a lot of successes. If you guys are good on math, I'll show you a little bit about the reading. Here's another huge celebration. Last fall, 70% of the kids were above grade level or below, just ready to be right where they need to be. It improved by 2%. And that's incredible teaching. That is a little bit of the learning path too, helping those kids, because you can do the learning path at home, which is targeted to the kids' area. But the literacy stuff is going to just always kind of be there, because reading success plans are going to follow the kids all the way up to high school. Dyslexia plans are always going to be there, but we're going to have data to show that. So you can share the grade levels as well. But this is, I think, a bright part of the district. I would just say, I feel like what we do at the elementary school levels and as it moves up is pretty exceptional when it comes to reading and ELA. Obviously, we got areas we can find. The middle school transition is a big bite for our kids.
And we are having some conversations on what that can look like in 5th grade to help with that. Some of those conversations this year, they are doing departmentalizing, so the kids are rotating. Also talking about some grading practices, because we're standards-based right now through 5th grade, but we're talking about at what point can we transition, and in 5th grade they start having letter grades too, because it is such a shock once you get to 6th grade, everything's now a letter grade. So we are talking about some things that we can do to help that transition, that big jump from elementary to middle school.
Put it on your radar. We are due for ELA curriculum update. We've had the same elementary ELA curriculum for 15 years. That contract expires. We are really sensitive to the fact of how much work they've had to do with the math, and then now possibly something else is coming in. So they're working hard. They really are. And it's gonna move the needle. We don't expect immediate changes in our kids because, like the math changes, maybe the kids weren't always ready for that because we did have to readjust our pacing. We did have to readjust the standards back to the grade level, and the kids weren't prepared, but they are going to adapt to it well, and they already are. So thank you very much for your support with that program, because they're pretty good. The big ideas in the iReady math is looking really strong.
Are there intentions, you mentioned that we expanded and added grade 9, are we gonna add grade 10 and 11 and 12?
That is our plan. I do have another program that I want to talk to Mr. Newman about that isn't iReady, but it gives the same thing like the Learning Path does to middle school kids. And my son, I make sure when he says he doesn't have homework, I put him on that Learning Path because I know he has some deficiencies and he works on that on his own. He makes a goal. I think we could benefit if you go to our 9th grade scores. And we've got kids that are 2 grade levels below. RTI time, where they come in and work with the teacher, it's very easy at the high school level to make that homework completion. It's hard and it takes time to grow our teachers to just use that as teaching a deficiency in a key standard, just reteaching something, because we want them to be successful. We want them to pass their classes. We want them to be compliant. That's a natural instinct. That Learning Path or another tool is kind of that automated way where we can go backfill buckets that a teacher can't always see with their eyes. Because they're so focused on, I gotta teach the 9th grade standard. How do I identify what you need from 7th grade and what you need from 6th grade? But we can work smarter, not harder, because of these amazing tools that didn't exist 20 years ago. So I got one I want to review with him and see if we can switch to that maybe.
I do have one question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
on the RTI, are we missing a group of kids, like kids that go to CTC or do the half days? Because I know that we are. I mean, I have a child that does that, and I feel like she could use that time, like in English 4 occasionally, or just different classes that she's missing out on that. And how do we address that?
Yeah, so we looked at right off the bat, first thing of the day, middle of the day, end of the day. And no matter what part of the day we put it, we were going to miss
a group of kids
somewhere. And then through all of the studies, the conference that we all went to last year, to really look at this, I mean, every study showed that middle of the day was the perfect time of the day to grab these kids' attention and really try to fit that into the schedule.
One thing we are going to discuss is, especially as we look at our workforce, our staff, we've begun sharing some staff between the middle school and the high school. Maybe that is the most efficient move somewhere down the line as we try to make sure we get the most for our kids. Is aligning that schedule, possibly, for that type of time. So there's some little things we could do to tweak. So where it is right now might be the best, and that's what we keep for both secondary pieces. So because of that alignment piece and sharing staff, it maybe has to move to the morning or afternoon, but we will reassess that. At the same time, getting something like a Learning Path for the high school kids, if we have students that are going to Summit Tech, going to Fort Osage, Blue Springs Innovation Campus, they could at least get that to work on their own.
Or if there's a combination maybe that you could do some way to work out where all kids are captured and not.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is a policy update too.
Yep, so second read on MSBA 2025D policies. So just to run through some of them, a lot of it's tied to legislation. A lot of sunshine requests, so just some updated language and outlining what those sunshine request requirements are, especially when you notify how many days you have to reply to that. A new policy on AI, so we hadn't adopted a policy on AI, and we did look it over, and we are comfortable adopting it, outlining that you need to name a coordinator, an AI coordinator who's evaluating the tools that you're using, with students and staff. Some new language and updated policy on reduction of staff, and just some of the expectations and the laws refining that, discouraging that MSBA is earmarking that, but they see some windfalls in state funding and some of the local funding coming forward, so they know schools are starting to have conversations on lifting staff, that reduction in staff, so just an update in that policy. Special education, there's a new category they've extended. YCDD is young child with developmental delay, which used to be 3 to 5 year olds only. And then once they came into kindergarten, we had to reassess them. They're now allowing the YCDD diagnosis to stay through the age of 6 because that transition year to kindergarten is so hard. So updated policy in that. New policy on eligibility to enroll. So there was a new state law last year that said, it was outlining all your non-resident students who are children of employees that can attend, and that also now reaches out to your contracted employees. So it's always been a district employee, so they had to be an Oak Grove district employee to bring their students. But this new policy says if they work for any of our contracted, so we have GROW, we have DS Bus Lines, and we have OPA. So, but it does state that they have to be employed for 60 days before that they could bring their child to school here. What else? A lot of information, policy updates. There's 3 or 4 policy updates that are tied to FERPA laws and sharing records of students. And most of it is around students with behavior needs and threat assessments. So in the threat assessment process that we've been trained on and that we go through, we usually develop a safety plan, and there's a lot of documentation that goes towards that. And so this new policy says if it's big enough for you to have a threat assessment and a safety plan, that information is now part of the student's record, which means if they do transfer to another school, we're disclosing that information and sharing that. So a little bit of update on that. Weapons in school, there's a new update on that, just in regard to any time a student is disciplined for a weapon in school, that is reported to DESE. Used to be just law enforcement, now we're reporting it to DESE and law enforcement, along with the disciplinary that goes with it. And then the last one is discipline reporting records. It's more of a collaboration that policy is talking about. Prosecutors are now supposed to inform schools when they're prosecuting a juvenile that goes to our school, so that we're aware of what that prosecution is and what went on, and so we can monitor that if that concern would follow into the school day. So that's second reading for MSDA 2025D policy update. So we'll board approve that next month, so you have a little more time to look over it all.
Next up is the construction update.
Hey, we got things going on across campus. If you haven't driven through campus, there's things happening in construction. We're excited. Locker room floors were sealed today, which is why we didn't get to go on our tour, but that's super exciting that they're sealed, which means Friday they can start, and then next week they can start installing partitions and all of the fixtures. And the girls they're moving tomorrow to the girls' side for the flooring. So
they're both at the same pace at this point.
They've caught up.
Yeah.
Right now, the boys' locker room is about a week ahead of the girls because as they're going through things, they're getting caught up. So soon, when I said Thanksgiving break, we're close. We're so close, so close, so close. Playground has been torn down. Playground equipment was supposed to start install on Monday. Delivery got delayed. We got a partial delivery yesterday, another partial delivery either today or tomorrow, and then playground will be installed. And then the throwing area, so McConville is here, and they've got it, you see it, it's all graded, it's gravel, they've got the curbs poured, and then they'll be back to pour some of the concrete. So the throwing area, discus and shot, looks great. The location's just perfect. It's such an enhancement to when we host our track meet, so that's exciting too. The rest of the construction, if you get back there, we do have masonry. We went ahead and rearranged some things. Obviously, our concern was masonry working in winter and cold. And so they went ahead and rearranged a few things. We have 12-foot masonry walls all the way around now. So that's exciting to see. You can kind of see a footprint. And so we'll continue that progress. We've got another construction meeting tomorrow to see where we're at on updated timelines. So we're making progress.
Next up is comments on local tax revenue.
Local tax revenue. Did anybody watch the news lately? So lots going on in Jackson County. I had another meeting today. So Jackson County superintendents kind of have reached out, worked really hard, and gotten a meeting with Jackson County legislators because there's lots of decisions going on, and all the information we're getting is either from Facebook or the news. And so we're just trying to say, can we have a seat at the table? Can we be a part of this conversation? We need to be in the know based on the impact. So crunching some numbers and trying to look at things. So State of Missouri's new law, Senate Bill 190, which is the senior citizen tax freeze. We have till November 30th to get what those numbers look like in our county. So we sit in 3 counties. We've received those numbers for Lafayette County. We've not received them for Johnson or for Jackson County yet. Lafayette County alone is $41,655 that will be as a credit back to those senior citizens. So that's less revenue that we would receive. Anticipating with Jackson County about $190,000. So we're looking at about $231,655 less revenue that we'll receive from Senate Bill 190. Now then when we look at Jackson County, we're still trying to get crunching numbers and do some figuring, but talking about the 15% cap and then going back to the 2023 residential. When we calculate those numbers and look at that, it's about a $225,000 freeze credit that we would receive over each year for the next 3 years. So overall, for our district, it's roughly $500,000 less revenue that we'll receive yearly, and especially for the next 3, depending what Jackson County does with those. So obviously that's concerning. We have to plan for that. The timing of our transfer passing, and the hopes last year when we were having the conversation of tax levy increase and transfer, it was to do big things salary rise, right? Passing that transfer only this year helps our reserves and gets us to where we need to be healthily. We made lots of cuts last year. We're having hard conversations on which of those are essential to bring back for the next year, not just reinstating all of those positions that we cut. But we also now, when we've got that transfer, we have to incorporate in $500,000 less revenue out of that. So our big goal, where we want to go salary-wise, is going to be harder to get. It's just going to take us longer to get there. But we still are going to be in a good place to be able to give raises to our staff as we need to, and as we've done the last several years to continue down that directory. So Monday, December 1st, we have that. First, we have that sit down with Jackson County with Jackson County legislation, just to have a seat at the table and start that conversation of what's this going to look like? What's reverting back to 2023? What does that look like? How is that happening? How does that freeze take place? We just don't have any of the hows figuring out right now. So it's just a lot of unknown, but that estimated ballpark of what it looks like it's going to do is $500,000 less in revenue.
Am I understanding correctly, when they made their changes, had we set our tax levy today, we'd set it at a different level, given what we know now?
Oh, yeah. Well, our numbers would have been.
Because they gave us a number, we gave them a number, then they changed their number, but we don't have the opportunity to change
So your levy most likely would have been set different based on Hancock Amendment.
Yeah. And so we have no opportunity to recoup that or redo ours.
So a lot of school districts will and they can. We will be ineligible for recruitment because we have a change to our operating level this year. And so if you have a change to your operating tax levy, you can't recoup in the same year. So we will be ineligible of the recruitment.
Of anything making up to that.
This year.
But we could.
In the future.
Following 3 years.
Possibly.
3 year.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's that balance of recruitment. Because so what Jackson County is doing is to provide relief to your patrons.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we come and say, wait, we want a recruitment, what does that look like? So it's how do you balance that? And that's the frustrating part that we want to share with Jackson County is, we would have, a lot of these schools and fires and libraries would have set their tax levy different. Like, this is after the fact and after
you didn't
following
do
the
your job,
legislative
and
process
then you
that's
changed
in place.
it late.
Correct. And but it's sure going to put a bad light on those local taxing entities that are trying to get all of the dollars that they set their levy for and that they're budgeted for. So it's a really, really difficult position to put the taxing entities in.
And they're not discussing that.
We have to remember, and we have to remind ourselves, state statutes set, and this is all in place. We are simply recipients of the local tax dollars to open our doors. That's what we are. We are the recipients of it. The laws are set, the process is set, we had nothing to do with any of that. We are just the recipients of the dollars. And there's a lot of people who are really angry at these taxing entities that were the recipients of the dollar. That's a statute problem. That's something in legislative Senate that has to be changed, not us. Like, the process has to be changed if they no longer want schools, fire, and libraries to simply be the recipients of these tax dollars. So it's gonna be interesting, that's for sure, but to know roughly what our revenue is gonna help us, which is why we don't have, usually in October we do a budget amendment. Because by then we set our tax levy, and by then we've gone through our first September payroll, which is our big first payroll for the year. So usually then in October we do our budget amendment. We didn't because we were switching financial softwares, and now we're in November, and it's because we don't know what our revenue is. You know what I mean? So we still don't know what our revenue is until we get those dollars. So most likely, and no matter what, if we have those dollars by then, we should have those dollars amounts from the counties. And in December, we should be able to do that budget amendment that we've been waiting on. So. Doom and gloom.
Okay, next up is approval of hourly salary schedules.
Hourly salary schedules.
Tongue twister.
So new Senate bill said that school districts are no longer exempt from minimum wage. So we've in the past been exempt. Starting January 1, we have to have all our employees at $15 minimum or more. And so what you see is those hourly categories that were below $15 and how we need to amend them in order to get to where we need to be. And then the overall financial impact on the district. And we knew this was coming, which is another reason we were waiting till after. A lot of schools went ahead and did this, and when they set salary schedules last April, May, and put it in their budget, but we wanted to make sure we could budget for this. So all in all, when we look at, and I broke it down into big categories, when we look at custodians, so implementing January 1 would be a half a year for this year, and then what the cost would be for the full year next year. For custodians, we're looking at a yearly impact of $65,032 to finish out this year. Paraprofessionals, to amend that budget, those salary schedules will be $15,000. Most of our paras were at or above that threshold, other than just a step 1, no college hours or training para. Total costs of the year for $15,000. Piano accompanist, total cost for the year $3,000. 10-month secretary, which is our AD and our counseling secretary, $9,000 for the entire year. District technology technician, $3,000 for the entire year. Substitutes, so those are hourly, we pay them hourly, so we had to update substitutes, $22,000 for the whole year. So we're looking at overall financial impact to the district to move these salary schedules to meet the minimum wage standard. $117,000 for next school year will be $58,500 for the remainder of this year. And what we did with the salary schedules is we went ahead and just adjusted them, and then of course it trickled through, right? So it went through, we didn't just make compression, we went ahead and had it trickle through the entire, so it's benefiting any hourly employee in any of these categories.
And those numbers include the benefit to everybody in that category.
Yes, it's everything, and
So everybody-
including the increase in retirement.
So everyone in those categories receives some kind of a
Are
bump.
gonna see an increase in pay. Mm-hmm.
Which isn't something, it's something we probably needed to do at some point anyway.
Correct, because we're competing with
We
Walmart
were.
and Quick Trip and other local businesses in town paying higher. The benefit is the hours here, and then the match retirement and full benefits. And then you can see, and this just goes through each of them, the company is, so you can see what the original schedule was and what we're moving it to, and what the recommendation is. And this also include our Aspire students. So part of hiring the Aspire students, which is our apprenticeship program, we do that in cooperation with the Missouri Department of Labor. And so one of their requirements is that they were already being paid minimum wage, so we already have those kids on minimum wage. And then we have our substitutes. We had to increase some of our substitute categories in order to meet that hourly as well. And then it did trickle some of the others. So we used to have, during COVID, we kind of gave an incentive to our substitutes if they sub more than 20 days with us, they would get paid a little bit more. We have generally all the same subs that just are just dedicated to Oak Grove. So we went ahead and just took out that pay that was under $15 and just paying all of our subs, no matter what day they're on, unless they are a long-term sub, which means they're doing maternity leave or an illness for a staff.
Well, 'cause it's not 8-hour day though, is it?
It is.
It is 8-hour day?
Or 7.5, maybe 7.5 for subs.
Ask your mom.
Well, yeah.
Should say it's 8 hours. Feels like 8 hours.
What was the rationale with some of these positions already being above $15 and going ahead and giving them a raise for it?
So just comparing to the other category, so other staff, example, example paraprofessional. Once we raised the custodians, the custodian was only almost gonna be making the same as a paraprofessional.
Yeah.
And paras have so much training and they're working one-on-one with students that we wanted that separation from a custodian to a paraprofessional. So trying to keep the categories of the job duty, there's a little bit of cost difference between a few of those categories based on professionalism and the skill trade required with the job. So we did it by percents. Worked with Michael Weiser on this, so we kind of did it by percents, looking at the percents of what the differences was, getting the first one up to 15 an hour or whatever we needed it to, and then keeping that percent difference between different categories.
So it's similar to when we add $600 to the base pay of a brand new teacher,
Correct.
and everybody moves.
It affects everybody, no matter what they're teaching or what their degree is or what, yeah, similar.
Yeah, I think we needed to address that at some point anyway and have to.
I'm gonna tell you right
be
now, I'd much
competitive.
rather be a desktop tech for more money than be a building secretary for less. Because the secretaries, it never ends, it's 100 miles an hour.
Busy day.
That's
Busy day, yeah.
Good secretary is worth their weight in gold.
Any questions, comments? Okay, I entertain a motion to approve the hourly salary schedules as proposed.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, Jim. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Everyone. Next up is approval of the board filing dates.
Correct, so board filing opens up, coming quick. It opens Tuesday, December 9th at 8 a.m. and it closes Tuesday, December 30th at 5 p.m. And then it is closed while we're on those Christmas breaks, so when the office is closed, we're closed. We do have 3 seats open for this year, so if the public board approves this, and then we publish it in the newspaper and post it on our social media, and be ready for filings with the April 7th election. That's it.
I assume these dates, there's some sort of statute or something. that
Yeah,
tells us what we
yep.
have to
It's
do.
the Missouri Ethics Commission, state of Missouri tells us what these dates are. We just have to, the board approves them and we have to publish them.
Awesome. Questions?
Who's the lucky recipient to work the 1 hour on the 30th?
Christie.
Board secretary.
Christie comes in.
Last year was New Year's Eve
Yeah.
Right.
from 4 to 5.
Was it?
And just the way our break falls, central office, 12-month staff, we kind of break up so every day is covered pretty much during break, so we work 4-hour shifts in the morning, and then on that Tuesday, I actually will be there from 1 to 5, so that would be my second shift, so, but yes, it is state statute, we have to be there until 5 on that closing date. And the first day, it cannot start, even though our central office is open at 7:30, we cannot start filings until 8 a.m.
They don't have coffee or donuts or nothing while you're sitting there.
Oh, whatever.
You just hang out.
Do you think that I'm really not that hospitable?
Yeah.
Okay.
You've done that for him.
Yeah. Usually when she comes by and picks me up. Yeah.
I mean, I bring him scooters,
Yeah.
not just,
Yeah. It's a good thing.
not
I was
just
gonna bring these scooters for
sink
30,
water
but I'm not
coffee.
now.
Awesome. Do I have a motion to approve the board filing dates?
I'll second them.
Thank you, Jeff. A motion and a second. All in favor? Everyone. Next up is approval of elementary playground turf replacement bid.
Yeah, we're in the wrong business, aren't we? So we got the playground grant, and of course they had to rip everything up, and then now they got to reinstall the drainage and the concrete footings, and then the turf, and then we're doing a curbing around that too. So we did go out to TIPS, our procurement, and took bid from Midwest, who is Craig Schonk, and we've worked with them they do our field and do a lot of things for us. But we also asked for a sidewalk to be added at the high school. With the parking in the front now, we've got a sidewalk to those first set of doors, and then there's a gap, and then no sidewalk to the van doors, and we wanted to close that sidewalk. So PAC events, if you need to park in the front, there is that sidewalk that would take you all the way to the PAC without having to walk the trail. So while they're here doing concrete work, we're asking for that sidewalk to be put into. But total bid is $77,750, and that did include the demo of the existing playground and equipment and haul off for that. This is not bond money, this is capital project money. So usually we earmark $400,000 a year for summer work, and we didn't do any of that last summer, and we weren't planning to this summer just with all the construction going on. So all these little projects that we've been doing are adding up, but it is still within what we budget for capital project, for yearly maintenance around our facilities.
Good to know. Any questions? Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeff. A motion and a second for approval of the elementary playground turf replacement bid as presented. All in favor? Everyone. Next up is weight room equipment.
Yes, we're excited. So there were a few things when we started outlining and planning the bond project. There were a few things that we knew would save the district a little bit of money, and some of it was just us procuring several of the equipment ourselves, weight room equipment, basketball goals, volleyball goals, all the lockers ourselves, the locker room. If we'd have went through Fogel Anderson, of course we would have gotten general management fees with all of that. So Mr. Sharks, the expert in weights and weight equipment, and has lots of resources, reached out and got several vendors, came in, we did some bidding, just to kind of see what it is we were wanting to do, and this is our bid. Do you have anything you want to say about our product?
Yeah, well, pretty exciting to this weight room. First of all, I'm thankful that the district it puts their money where it needs to be in terms of extracurricular. Once this weight room is done, we will be at the top of the conference in terms of our product that we can give to our kids. So we're figuring at least 17 racks based on our space. Went out at my previous employer, I got a chance to do that there too. So I had some knowledge of this coming in. Several different companies that we toured and looked at the product. Sornix is the one that I like, working with a guy named Dan McKinn, who's a rep, and he actually works in Maryville. He helped me to design the weight room, and you can see it right there, what it would look like. No pinch points. Line of sight is great in there. Again, 17 racks. Sornix is a company that's the leading in the industry. If you look at the weight rooms around the country, they're leaning towards Sornix. If you can imagine an erector set, and this is going to take me back a little bit, where you have attachments to it, Sornix is like a big erector set. There's lots of things that you can do to this thing to add to it. So it's not just a rack. There's TRX band options to it. There's jammer machines. There's landmines. There's all kinds of functional strength things that you can do in there. In this particular one, I added a glute ham extension, a Nordic glute ham extension, which is many of the weight rooms around the Kansas City area do not have, because they take so much space. We were able to add one in between each one of the racks. And then the racks are also customized, say Panthers on it, kind of like that. But you can see kind of what it looks like there. So here, I can show you. So if you zoom in on it, you can see this is the glute ham extension right here that adds, you can see these little holes right here. Again, you can attach things to it. These are our jammer extensions right here. These are landmines that you stick basically bars in. And it's got everything that a high school kid, even a professional athlete, can ask for. It's a full rack, so you can step inside the rack, and we have the front rack too. Okay, so you can step outside of the rack when you're doing explosive lifts and Olympic style lifts. So it's really, really awesome, to be honest with you. But if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I went to Smithville's got a company that they use called Wilder that they have racks. They're nothing like this. Okay, so Green Valley just put this same system in at Green Valley. They have 20 racks. We'll have 17. The way that they did theirs, I didn't like it. It was too packed in there. It was hard to spot people. This one has way more space in between, so people can get in and out of the rack functionally. In the middle of the room is wide open. Okay, so at least at Fort Osage, when I had it there, we were able to do harness pulls, plyometric works with box jumps. All this area right in through here is wide open. So it's just a phenomenal space for our athletes to get better.
Where will the TV go?
The TVs will be in between. So I've got them in between each rack. So there'll be a TV here, a TV here, a TV here. So they will be able to see their workout. Through Rack Coach, which is we partner with Rack Coach to keep everybody on pace. Okay, and it's really, really cool because if you're an athlete that's say you're an athlete that's a 250-pound squatter, okay, and we do periodic stuff where we increase the load, we can get the exact amount of weight that needs to go on that bar for that particular student on that screen during that time. So, if I'm a 250-pound squatter on the second set of the lift, it shows me, okay, I'm 80% of that max. This equals 190 pounds. Put 190 pounds on the bar. Boom, you've got 45 seconds to get 8 reps in. It's really efficient. Again, I did it at my previous school. It's just an awesome way to train. And again, in my world that I live in, extracurricular, lifeblood of all programs. I mean, the weight room is where it's at. To me, it's worth the money to invest because this kind of stuff is going to be here 50, 60, 70 years later. I mean, it's not going anywhere. When you do the weight room right, and again, this one here is nice because it's flexible enough to add equipment later if you want to. I didn't ask for everything that they offered. I mean, if I did that, it would be crazy. But there's options to add to it as well. So
we had earmarked and set aside bond funds at the very beginning for all the equipment that we priced, not in ballpark figures. We'd set aside $250,000 for weight equipment, and then the bid that we're bringing to you is $235,942.16.
And when I started this way back when I was first hired here, and I continued to work with Dan, the price continues to increase. Every 30 days it expires, I gotta get a new one. So the price of steel, all of it's just kind of continuing to climb up there to the point where I had to eliminate some things. I would have loved to have some Panther logo plates and stuff too, but that's another $5,000, took that away. But what we have there is top of the line. I mean, you can look at all the places that utilize Sorinex. I mean, the University of Georgia, Auburn, Duke University. I mean, you look at the Denver Broncos. I mean, this is good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So,
does this have any of the rubber flooring down or?
Yeah. Well, I think we're going with our own company for the flooring piece. This is not part of that. No. So the flooring is through our construction crew.
But it'll be a rubber.
But it'll be that rubber, the same rubber flooring.
Yeah.
And the thing about this too, this is really cool. If you guys ever have a chance to go through Green Valley's weight room, I don't know, we probably don't, but the thing that's really awesome about it, and you can't see it, but these are straps right here. I don't know if you can see them, but they're straps inside here. They're like, a tow rope. Okay, that's what they are. So those are the safety bars. And so if you lose it, you don't hear that. And believe me, years and years in the weight room, I can barely hear. It's all so very quiet. Everything's rubber. You know, it's just clean. It's awesome. It's really cool.
You scroll
And
through
the
the
storage,
side.
I got storage for two bars right in the rack, so that's really nice. I didn't get kettlebells, but I got several sets of dumbbells that fit within each rack. So it's not one of those deals where, you know, me and my buddy are working out. I don't have to go all the way across the weight room, go to the dumbbell rack, grab the dumbbell. You know, it's all right there. So you can put kids in groups based on strength. So you might have a novice group over here working with smaller weights, and you might have your advanced group over here. So you can load these things up based on the type of kid that's in the rack. So to me, it's going to be the best.
So that strap moves up and down really easy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just goes up and down. You don't have to pull a pin. And that's cool.
It's really neat stuff.
Yeah.
It's really neat
And the
stuff.
equipment we have, how old would you say the equipment is?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. But that's
But we hope this
an
lasts
example
40,
of
50
weight room
years.
stuff doesn't ever go old.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that stuff that we currently have, there's a plan for that in the middle school too. So
Didn't they get it?
we're going to move that and use that because it's worth
So they
something.
moved the weight room. No, they moved the weight room. That's when they got it.
But this is all rubber here. It's not iron. So, I mean, when you drop it, it doesn't.
Is there anything that makes the kids not cheat when they don't go down far enough to squat?
Yes, you can do that. Well, no, you can attach straps and bungees.
And that way they. Yep.
So when you
Oh,
go
yeah.
down to get your squat, your butt's hitting a bungee, and you know you're low with it, right? So you can raise and lower those. Yeah, it's
I love it.
pretty sweet. They actually have technology now that measures the speed of the bar. Okay, that's pretty high tech stuff. Yeah, it measures the speed of the bar, not necessarily how much weight you're moving, but how fast you're moving. And that's kind of where strength and conditioning is heading now. It's not just about sitting on a bench press and going, so like I can move this 6 inches a whole lot. It's more about, again, functional strength and being able to do things fast.
This is probably too much of a question. I apologize. Like with these setups, like you're talking about, it's kind of outside. So like, can the kids come out and do like a power clean lift off the ground as they do up front? Is that how they do that?
Oh yeah. In fact, we worked with the architects because we knew we were going to have columns to support the roof. The original plans had the columns wider. Yeah. So the original plans had these columns closer to the wall. And when I worked with Sorinex and we talked about, again, pinch points and line of sight, so now we moved them closer to the center now so that we can get outside the rack and safely do a hang clean or power clean from that space without having these in the way. So we thought that through. And these corner areas right here, again, they were kind of pinch points. We moved them out so that, you know, they're easy. And if you're the weight training coach, see, for me, it's just so nice because you can get in the middle. You can see every kid lift. And in my world, I would put like my top performers in these little small racks, okay? And I might put my novices on one wall so I can see them all the way down the line. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, again, it's a cool thing. It's really exciting. It's something that, again, long after I'm dead and gone, should be serving the kids in this district for a long time. So it's a good investment.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, I'd be happy to talk this all day long if you want to talk. But again, we looked at Wilder's, another company out of Mississippi. Not a bad company, but again, doesn't have the same stuff this does. We looked at Elite Fitness. Bids were they were real close, but they didn't have the same feature in terms of the full rack and the front rack. Sorinex by far had the best stuff. So.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any motion for approval of bond weight room equipment as presented?
Make the motion.
Jim?
I'll second it.
Yeah. Motion and a second. All in favor? Everybody?
Awesome.
Get it ordered.
I'm going to call in tonight. Lock that price in, buddy.
Next up, our next regular monthly board meeting will be December 17th at 7 p.m. for open executive. Seeing nothing else on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion. I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Terry. Motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did I get yellow? That's pretty good for those weekends.